guy?
Okay. So Anand, Chris will share the screen, okay?
Sure, done. Noted.
Yeah.
Hey folks, hey Lindsay, are we live?
We are indeed, and recording.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, everybody. Sorry to be getting started a couple minutes late here today, but really excited to chat with all of you. So my name is Chris DeMale, Vice President with CMMI Institute and ISACA. Let's maybe give another 30 seconds for any remaining folks to be joining in. You should be able to see my title screen at this moment. People First, CMMI's Blueprint for Workforce Excellence, CMMI for People. If you're having any technical challenges, please use this time to speak up. And we will be using the chat function today for Q&A, so please don't hesitate to utilize that. All righty, well, I think we've given enough time for everybody to join up. We do have a great number of folks on the call here, so please, let's get started. So, hello everybody. My name is Chris DeMale with the CMMI Institute, and today we'll be talking about CMMI for People. So let's go ahead and dive in. First, let me talk about who we are. So I've introduced myself. I've been with CMMI Institute for over 8 years now. Right? Then I have two fantastic SME presenters today who will be with me. First of which is Dr. Sankaran, a globally recognized expert in business performance and CMMI. He's been a lead appraiser for CMMI since 2006 with a top consulting firm, one of our key partners, and he's also a member of the CMMI AI working group. So really happy to have Dr. Sankaran with us here. And then we also have Mr. Anandkumar Shelat. He is a high maturity lead appraiser and a CMMI instructor with over 25 years of experience, having led global CMMI engagements across various industry sectors to drive process excellence and business transformation. So these two folks will be helping all of us have a robust conversation around CMMI for People and how we can make things better for our organizations and our industry. So as far as what those contents will be, you can see them here on the slide. Proceeding down on the left, what is CMMI? Why focus on people? Why people as a domain within the CMMI framework and model? CMMI for People, and then we see bullet points on the core interpretation, context specific and details to achieve the business value, benefits. Then we'll have CMMI links and resources, as well as a Q&A session. So please don't hesitate to use that Q&A, to use that text field in order to make your questions known. So let's kick right off with what is CMMI and those capabilities before I pass it over to Dr. Sankaran. So for those of you that may not know CMMI, right, CMMI Performance Solutions is a proven outcome-based performance improvement model providing faster, better, and cheaper results, right? The reason why this organization has existed since the 1980s is because we've been enabling folks to do this for decades now, right? It is the globally accepted standard that improves and enhances organizational capability and performance while setting the bar for assessing maturity. And it provides a prioritized and evolutionary capability and maturity pathway to build and implement new capabilities to deliver measurable results. Right? But don't take our word for it. Over 5,000 CMMI appraisals happen on an annual basis. That's over 13,000 appraised organizations, right? And over 50 countries in which this occurs. including many national governments that support CMMI as their preferred framework for assessing organizations. And when it comes to people, this is specific to optimizing your staff and getting your teams ready excuse me, for what's next to come. And so this will be my last slide before I pass that over to Dr. Sankaran. So what can CMMI do for you? What are some of the characteristics, right? As I mentioned, it is a globally recognized process improvement framework, right? It is developed and maintained by CMMI. That's the organization that I work for, where we have significant SME resources dedicated to making sure that this model is extremely current and relevant to today's business practices, right? It is designed to be sector agnostic and applicable across industries, right? And it's also taking in the best practices from all those different types of organizations, whether they're academic, government, industry, all of them are incorporated into what makes the CMMI model great. This helps organizations improve performance, quality, and efficiency, leading to things that are faster, better, and cheaper, right? And the current version is CMMI 3.0, which Dr. Sankaran and Mr. Anandkumar will be talking about, right? Featuring 8 domain-specific models, and one of them is CMMI for People. And that focuses on workforce capability and development, a very urgent topic for everybody out here to be thinking about and considering in our day-to-day. And so, folks, please let me turn things over to my friend and colleague, Dr. Sankaran, to talk about some of these challenges. Dr. Sankaran, if you want to request control of the slides in this moment, please feel free. Otherwise, I can operate the slides for you. Are you ready to proceed, sir?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. And I will bring up my couple of slides and then I would come back to the slide. Thank you so much for setting the context extremely well, Chris. That's very, very helpful. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, friends from whichever time zone you're all coming in. Thank you so much for taking time out to be part of this webinar. And let me take this opportunity to thank CMMI Institute and ISACA leadership team for giving us this wonderful opportunity to talk on CMMI for People. So dear friends, we are truly living in a turbulent times. The changes are happening so fast, whether on the technological advancement perspective, or we are talking about geopolitical conflict perspective. Too many changes, dynamic changes taking place constantly. And as Chris rightly mentioned, putting people first in the business equation is something which is inevitable in the current context. And it's extremely crucial for organizations and enterprises to be successful. So in that context, I'm reminded of a famous management researcher who used to talk about the management theory on successful business in an organization or an enterprise. His name is Peter Drucker. I'm sure all of us may be very familiar with this name. And Peter Drucker once said, okay, you take away my machine, material, method, money, and the company infrastructure. Leave me and my men, we shall start another company. That's the importance he placed on people as an asset, talented workforce in the company. He also went on to say, saying that, there are only 3 things that happens in any organization naturally: friction, confusion, underperformance. Rest all requires leadership. Truly, we are living in that world. Adding to Peter Drucker, one of his famous research mentor and scientist also is Martek. Martek's law was fantastic, who said, in the current context, it makes a lot of sense. While many years back, Martek made the statement and became a Martek's law, who said, technological changes are taking place exponentially, while organization changes are taking place logarithmically. If the distance is too huge, then the organization may have to introspect and start expediting the change management. Friends, while we are getting into this framework, let me give you some insights about some of the famous management research consulting companies, executive research consulting companies have conducted global workforce sentiment survey analysis for the year 2024-2025. And I'm sure all of you would be quite interested to see how, and I got absolutely thrilled by looking at some of these findings. Engagement is, with global workforce engagement is falling down, especially managers community are the biggest factor. Well-being perspective is deteriorating. Now, what is the cost of disengagement? Comes with massive costs. We will just try to put things in perspective here with numbers very soon. And we all know technological advancement coming with generative AI, agentic AI, and literally many tasks what we used to do are now being empowered to AI with a democratized approach. And therefore, skilling and reskilling takes utmost precedence now. And therefore, what is the path forward starting with managers? Just to put some numbers in perspective, and these are the well-calibrated numbers from different consulting companies. By looking at constantly, they were collecting sentiments from the global workforce. The employee engagement has a decline. That could be many factors playing a role, but it has declined to 21% compared to in the past what it used to be 23%. Especially manager engagement saw a steep decrease to 27% from what it used to be in 30%, but still individual contributor engagement remaining at 18%. Managers are directly influencing 70% of team's engagement. So you can imagine if manager disengagement can have what kind of consequences. From an employee well-being perspective, high stress levels persist with almost 41% of employees experiencing significant stress on a daily basis in 2024. And loneliness is also a matter of concern. Almost 20% of employees are facing this loneliness, and it is increasing to 25% in particular with remote workers. Now, what is the cost perspective in terms of the disengagement? The global economy, the disengagement is estimated to impact $8.9 trillion, friends, annually, and which is approximately around 9% of the world's GDP. How does the loss translates to? $438 billion in global productivity in 2024. You can imagine the consequence of disengagement, friends. And in this, many employees are quietly quitting. And that's about what? 62% of employees quietly quitting, with almost 15% are actively disengaged. Imagine the impact to organization goals, objectives, and productivity. And on the other hand, if we think about technological advancement with AI becoming very critical, only 32% of employees see opportunities for their career growth in their organization. From an AI preparedness perspective, there are 70% of employees rarely using AI, 70%, and the decrease is still 6%. So what needs to be done by the enterprise at large? Need to invest in training and development, learning and development constantly to help employees to become agile and adapt to latest technology. Almost less than half of managers, almost 44%, have received formal management training. And therefore, it is imperative for enterprise to build culture, learning culture, where employees feel constantly three things: connected, recognized, and valued. And these are extremely crucial, friends. And increasing global engagement levels results in what? Almost 70% at least we touch could add $9.6 trillion in productivity to the world economy. So friends, these numbers gives a very different perspective about where the global workforce stage and talent management stage seems to be operating at. In addition, some interesting aspects that are coming up, of course, we can always say, because of AI or because of performance, we also see suddenly laying off happening across the globe and across the sectors, irrespective of any particular sector, missing managers. Suddenly employees on the ground, practitioners are feeling, I don't have leaders to give me directions. So from a short-term gain, leaner organization, long-term resulting in leadership crisis. Almost 80% of workers say they would stay in a job because they have a manager they trust. Another aspect of pain point, salary squeeze in the current context, because majority of the employees agree the cost of living is outpacing their salary. And therefore, the salary to be paid, is it at par with the industry, above par or below par? In fact, in this context, almost 85% plus workforce are feeling that even whatever be the compensation, make the compensation strategy transparent so that we know, are we at par, above par, below par, and therefore what are specific actions to be taken on compensation growth. Some of these sentiments coming more vehemently. As we all know, AI being a new normal and readiness, almost 78% of leaders believe they have figured out AI. Yet 39% of workers only agree. So the gap is quite wide. From a country's perspective, of course, AI readiness workforces are emerging with almost 80% plus workforce being ready. The rest of the countries following anywhere close to 35 to 40%. India, Brazil, and Middle East emerging as the most AI ready workforces. The next aspect is the penultimate aspect, which is hybrid headache. Of the 59% of the global employees who are working full-time in office, only 19% actually want to. So yet, organizations are working on return to office mandates. Just imagine the discomfort there with the employees. Almost 48% hybrid would be ideal, yet only 27% have the options. And friends, last but not the least, generational gaslighting, multiple generation. By 2033, we will have 4 generations working in the company, starting with traditional to baby boomers to Gen Z and Alpha. And you can see the gap. While 49% of Gen Z is crying out for better communication and teamwork and training, only 27% of baby boomers think there is an issue from the communication standpoint. From a technology skill gap perspective, while 25% of baby boomers believe there is actually no problem with their technical skills, and 40% of Gen Z see major challenges with their older colleagues on technology skill gap. And again, conflicting value skill gap. 37% of millennials say there is a fundamental clash in generational values, while only 27% of baby boomers agree. Now, friends, why I'm giving these perspectives is that this is the true survey results from 2024-2025. You can imagine the need for a structured framework coming on our way. There are many reasons why people leave the organization, but top 5 reasons in the current context has been compensation scoring very high. Few years back, maybe 7-8 years back, compensation used to be only number 4 or number 5, but today it takes the top. And that too, transparency in compensation. The engagement itself, work itself, challenging projects. Do we have challenging projects in place? Again, lack of job security. Then employee benefits taking the 4th priority. And last but not the least, lack of respect for personal priorities, which is work-life balance. Seems to be the top 5 reasons why people leave the organization. At the same breath, top 5 priorities when joining a company, when choosing a job, these are the same, but the order of priority changes. Of course, compensation at the top, then comes job security because of various reasons and factors. Engagement itself, the work itself, how challenging, how interesting the work is going to be. And of course, the benefits of employees and work-life balance with flexible working hours. Now, while I try to conclude in terms of the generic survey, there are all these consulting companies often thinking about time has now come to rethink talent management from aligning people, strategy, and technology, especially in these turbulent times. You can see all these factors playing a role. On the one hand, companies would take environment, social governance, ESG as the top management agenda, adding to that is diversity, equity, and inclusion. On the other hand, we have to embrace AI and automation in HR. Employee experience, ENPS, is also very important. As Chris earlier talked about on CMMI, faster, better, cheaper results. We would like to now add with CMMI people one more: faster, better, cheaper, happier. Happy internal stakeholders results in happy external stakeholders. And future of HR and talent management is about being 3 things: agile, very adaptable, data-driven, and employee-centric. And therefore, what the organization need to focus on it has to embrace ability to attract, develop, motivate, organize, and retain top talent in a rapidly evolving world, friends. Therefore, can we leverage a structured and systematic framework and model like CMMI for people for better? So friends, at this point in time, this is going to be extremely crucial for all of us to leverage a framework such as CMI for people, take full advantage of it and see how we can add value from 360-degree perspective within the organization as well as to the community and society at large. So thank you for patiently listening to me. I would now invite my colleague Anandkumar, who is going to deep dive into CMMI for people framework, and we will start getting into demystifying this model and see how it is going to connect the dots and help an enterprise to be successful in achieving their business goals or business objectives. Anand, turning it around to you. Over to you, Anand.
Very good evening, very good afternoon, very good morning to all of you. Thank you very much, Chris, and thank you, Dr. Sankaran, for setting the overall context and very useful information on the data based on the various survey related to the talent management and workforce aspects. So the major challenges these days, what the industry is experiencing is about the one of the very important part is about the attrition part in the overall industry, because there are multiple aspects involved with the attrition, with which Mr. Sankaran highlighted about the what are the challenges currently we have. Reskilling and upskilling is also sometimes very difficult when one individual is involved in a type of work and then upskilling himself or herself, balancing the current workload, looking into the future targets and the goals which are identified, and also keep updated with the disrupting technology or the new technology which is coming up. We always focus on the customer centricity or our business goals and business achievement, where we should look at what our customer is looking at in the next 3 to 5 years, their overall growth plan, and how we align our workforce with that to ensure that the customer is satisfied and our business is growing consistently. So there the overall change management as well as the learning the new technology playing very important role, scalability, changing the overall way of working, automating our assembly line, looking at the new platform, digitization, technology change. These are all extremely important. While there is also other aspect when we learn all this, our work-life balance, the employee burnout part, and work-life balance is all about looking into whether Dr. Sankaran spoke about the hybrid technology or hybrid way of working. But up to some extent that's possible and it's implemented, but quite a few industry we have where work-life hybrid is not possible. And how do we ensure that the individuals are not stressed and they have time for their own personal growth, their well-being part also? That also was one of the point in the survey which is conducted by the consulting agencies. Then the cost of living part, where we have the demographic included, various demographic. We are experiencing a lot of changes in the business rules. We are experiencing a lot of changes due to certain civil unrest and weather condition, looking into the current compensation trend, how the employees are looking at, how the workforce is looking at their career development and their personal responsibility to align with the work challenges what they are experiencing. Flexibility with multiple aspects, looking into the change of the demography, allowing people to work from different location, allowing people to move to a different country for their personal benefits also. And then the inadequate training part. So having the training budget in place. Many times we have observed that employees have to learn on their own, right? Because of it's not only lack of funding, but it is due to multiple situation. And as an individual, even I experience when I learn on my own, we deep dive into that, and we ensure that the new skills are obtained and we are upgraded. But then to identify the time for that, to identify overall required organization objectives and where we want to be, where an individual wants to be in the next 3 to 5 years, how do we align that? identifying the proper training topics, identifying the proper subjects to align with the organization growth. So these are the certain challenges which are there. These are the simple. There are quite a few, many more also, which maybe you have or you would have come across and you would have experienced it by on your own also. And then we look at the when these challenges are experienced by the management, the CMMI framework helps us to ensure that it covers the overall aspect of the people part and people growth and the various best practices for the workforce. Chris, can we have the next slide? So we look at the very important triangle about people, process, and technology. So here we have the people are using technology and they are implementing processes. And here also the other aspect is about focusing on the workforce, where the people aspect is the most important aspect, where they drive the overall business, they drive the most important inputs for the overall business performance and the business growth. Ultimately, it starts with the overall inputs or the activities which we are supposed to perform, our work-life balance. We also look at the collaboration and teamwork by the team members, their mindset, how to focus on customer centricity, how to ensure that the organization business performance is the goal. That is what we have to achieve, wherein we continuously ensure learning changes in our day-to-day life as a part of technology and business requirement. The agility part, which is one of the most important, which we are required to ensure or we are required to consider as a workforce in the for the sustained growth of our business and aligning our activities in line with the business requirement. These days, the data and the availability of the past performance, analyzing data to predict our future requirement, looking at the, for example, sales figure, what we have done good or we have done right or wrong in the past, how we can improve for future over a period of time. So taking informed data-driven decision is also very important. So these all supports the workforce for their growth, aligning their activities with the business requirement, and also looking at that how we transform, how we look at the overall transformation in our to achieve to ensure our business requirement and the business growth. And this all technology and process supports the people to drive that. Chris, can we have the next slide? Here, so as a part of this, the CMMI capability maturity model integration helps us. And that's the process improvement framework as Chris told by the ISACA. And it has two important aspects, capability level and maturity level. As a part of capability level, we look at what are the processes for which we want to improve the capability. And we identify those set of or selected few processes, and a focused improvement effort are planned and they are executed to achieve the goals and to ensure the consistent improvement. And as the other framework talk about the overall best practices and all, but CMMI has certain level wherein they talk about level 1, level 2, level 3 in capability level. And we look at how the individual training and individual capability supports the overall process capability improvement. And capability level is the level 3 where you have the different aspects covered. Maturity level are from up to level 5, and it covers certain set of best practices which we are required to adhere to, which covers the entire gamut of life cycle, support functions, and the stakeholder involvement, external, internal stakeholder involvement. And they have certain predefined set of practice areas, which helps us to implement the best practices. And it also helps us to ensure that each maturity level builds a foundation for the higher maturity level. And that helps the organization to look at the process effectiveness through the metrics and measurement. Capability level and maturity level both have very strong emphasis on the metrics and measurement related activity. That's where the management has the visibility in the process implementation, including certain workforce parameters and vis-a-vis the business growth. Chris, can we have the next? So capability level, it has the initial is the level 0 where there are no processes, very ad hoc way of performing activity. Level 1 is the initial level where you have the overall approach and the performance issues are handled. Level 2 is where we talk about the overall improvement based on the certain requirement of the management practices and defined periodicity monitoring. Level 3 is at the organization level, where organization objectives are aligned with the business department or a particular department and individual's KPI and goals. That is where the organization level improvement activities start, and that supports the workforce to upskilling the workforce, to empowering the workforce, mentoring workforce, and to ensure that the overall organization related objectives, performance objectives are achieved. So one of the very important part here is about contributing back. So we do day-to-day work, and we have the organization specific best practices coming up that is driven at level 3. So that's part of the capability level 3. Can we have the next? The other part is maturity level, where you have up to level 5. So level 1 is again, it's the unpredictable and we have no processes in place. Performance issues are at a minimum addressed. Level 2 is about managed, where you have the overall, the work is planned, monitored, controlled, actions are fed back. And we have work unit level or a department level goals, which are aligned with the organization level requirement. At level 3, we have the organization specific objectives, and then we have the, from the lowest level, we look at what are the activities performed, and we roll it up to the organization level business requirement in the different part of the organization. And we collect certain data. Now this data is analyzed using certain statistical techniques, and we predict performance for future, whether our past experience will support for our business, future business requirements. That's where it's level 4. And we predict our performance for future. That is where the data-driven informed decisions takes place. And that's a very important part for management to consider the data and take decision. While we do all this, we look at the radical and incremental improvement, innovative improvement, and we look at the how we optimize it. See, look at the RPA, robotics process automation, and AI ML techniques and whatnot is coming up. So even manufacturing line, IT, ITS organization, automotive industry, they are all looking at how they optimize their activity. And the workforce can contribute in more creative thinking, more creative design and creative activities. That's where the level 5 supports the agility and innovation. And these are all level 4 and 5 are very strongly driven with the measurements and metrics, wherein all this innovative and agility new approach improvements are tied with the business requirement and business directives, so that management has a very clear understanding of what is invested and what ROI they are getting. And over a period of time, they look at improvement, they raise the bar of improvement based on their own experience. Chris, can we have the next slide? Now, in all this, how the people have come, people domain has been introduced in CMMI. So Dr. Sankaran spoke about certain very important data about the lot of things about the attrition, the various factors which are impacted. Now, the capability maturity model integration talk about multiple domains. And to drive this domain specific activities, as I mentioned in one of the previous slides about the people part, using tools and the process implementation. That's how the people is included in the CMMI as one of the domain. And you can see on the slide the organizational performance and the relationship with the workforce capability. So as the workforce capability improves, overall organization performance improves. We have more avenues and we have more opportunities to take care of the workforce challenges also. So we have the people drive the overall process and technology. So people have they use the processes, they use the tools, they improve their own skills. They look at that, what is the growth path for them. They can, they ensure that they are learning certain new aspects in line with the disruptive technology and change in the environment which is taking place around them. Then we look at the leadership commitment, whatever is to be driven as a part of the business activity. So CMMI focuses on senior management involvement and leadership involvement very heavily, wherein they drive the overall, they provide the inputs on organization directives, and they drive the overall improvement program, where they involve everyone to the lowest level. So everyone has the involvement, and they can provide their views and inputs. Continuous workforce development, which has inputs from the competency and learning the new tools and technology, and that helps them to remain motivated. You know, like we all experience that, okay, we have learned something new and we are in the system. Then the change is the only constant in the world. So that's the change management part, where you have we need to accept the change in multiple aspects, whether it's be it our goals, our KPIs, or learning new technology, or implementing new processings. Little bit unlearning is required. And then we look at how we use our own learnings from the past to upgrade ourselves, to scale ourselves up for the new position and vertical growth, as well as in the business environment. The leadership collaboration, so it's not only leadership collaboration, it's a team member who have to collaborate together to achieve the organization performance objective, where the leadership plays very important role. They get involved and they ensure that the overall environment is very healthy environment in the organization. These days we have the inclusion part, so the overall organization workforce policy. We have multiple policies where we take inputs. CMMI focuses on considering various inputs from the team members on policy formation. What are their views and what they look at the organization point of view, and what are their thoughts. And one of the very important part is about the ESG, that is, and the diversity, equity, and the inclusion part, where we have the gender equality, ensuring the environment part, so that the overall in the world we have a lot of summits happening and there is a heavy focus on the environment related activities. So even that part is also addressed as part of some of the aspects of the people related activity. So one of the important key activity part of the CMMI is workforce empowerment, which addresses about the workforce availability. So what skills we need and what number of people are required. What is our sales forecast? What is our business strategy for next 3 years and 5 years? What type of competency is required? And how do we ensure workforce is available on time and we are able to have the inputs considered, taking their support for the organization growth. Then with the right set of workforce, we give them responsibility. We ensure what are their skills and where is the skill gap, if any, upgrading their skills and ensuring the required training is provided. Communicating the KPI and roles and responsibility, how the lowest level of the individual or the team member and how their KPI and goals are aligned with the organization growth. And in right set of matter is communicated on right time. That plays a very important role. That gives employees confidence that yes, we are involved and we are informed and we are worth of having certain information from management. And when these all happens together, certain organization level aspect like new joiners are there, or the maybe organization level certain training initiatives are initiated. We look at the certain change in the responsibility. So how fast we do that? How fast we ensure everything is implemented on time so that there is no impact on our day-to-day business activities. When we do this, we look at the knowledge, skills, and processability, the competency part. So competency development, competency-based practices, and looking at the career growth of individual in line with the organization requirement and the organization objectives. These all together creates a very healthy environment, positive environment. That's our culture, right? So, and we empower people to take certain decision. We give them authority based on their experience and level. And this further promotes the organization culture in a positive way, where people will look at that, okay, all the various aspects, including personal needs, are addressed. So how I contribute more to the organization growth. And that's where you have the compensation strategy and mechanism, where CMMI does not say that every year X% should be improved, but they say that have a strategy in place which brings the equality in the organization, which addresses the overall performance of the individual department level activities, and they are compensated, reward and recognition part. So one of the point which Dr. Sankaran spoke about, right, the employee benefits part. So one of the part is about in that is on the reward and recognition. So how do we go about ensuring the timely inputs provided to the individuals, along with the left-hand side skills and training part also, right? Their involvement in various activity. So these are the various aspects addressed. So workforce structure as a part of workforce empowerment. So right set of people at right place. Responsibility, accountability, consulting and information to the different people as they grow with the organization. Their involvement in various activities. Communicating KPI at the right time and enabling them that we are together to achieve the KPI. You are not left alone. There is an overall system there to support you, and there you ensure that you are on the right track to achieve the goals. Competency, so the competency development part and aligning with the roles and responsibilities. So for each role, what are the competencies required, where the individual is currently and what improvement is needed. Organizational capability building, so overall strategy for the organization level objectives, how the objectives are to be achieved. We look at the workforce training, we look at the overall roles and responsibility of individuals. And then we have certain metrics and measures for the management to look at the effectiveness part, where all we need to look at what our competition is doing, what is the industry analysis, and where all we need to build more on our strengths and improve on the certain areas for improvement. Staffing, so using the competency based practices for even staffing also, and looking into the minimum disruption, timely action, timely completion of activity. Communication coordination, so effective communication at all level, whether it's appreciation or it's an improvement opportunity, how we ensure the overall involvement of different set of people, ensuring the ESG part, environment related activity, the inclusion, gender equality. Even certain organizations have their internal norm that at each level in the organization, when the senior management level starts, they should have how the gender equality has to be maintained. And they have career development path for that at an early stage of the individual's career in the organization, and ensuring that they take the responsibility, they are mentored, they are empowered to take decision. And having the mentoring and mentee relationship in place, it helps them to take the decision in a right time at the right place. So that's about the various part of the workforce empowerment specific practice area in CMMI. Now, CMMI has certain practice areas which are related to support to ensure workforce empowerment is executed, right? So for that, there are certain other activities are called core practices, core practice areas, wherein you have the requirement related aspects, the timely review by the subject matter expert. We analyze what workforce is required, what is my business need, what percentage of bench is required, which will help for my future. And then we align their skills with the organization requirement and provide inputs for training and the improvement part. Also, the timely involvement of subject matter expert to review the compensation strategy, overall policy of the organization, communication and coordination strategy, various HR policies. The main important part is about capability building, where empowerment and mentoring. So how do you decide mentor and mentee? Right? What are the areas where the mentoring would support the individual without hurting the individual's capacity? And that's where the overall HR and the other best practices have to be in place, which supports to drive the mentoring program in the organization. And we need to ensure confidentiality and independence for the overall compliance part, because when the workforce is involved, there are quite a few things from the regulatory compliance point of view, overall demographic requirement point of view, as well as the business need point of view, right? So we have to look at the compliances in place. The other part is about the overall planning. So each business unit has their plan. Each organization has a high level plan, and each function in the organization, each department, be it a purchase or be it a finance department, administration department, they all have their plan. And we need to align the workforce capacity and capability and skills along with this plan. So we look at that, what is the overall yearly annual requirement based on the organization activities, and the overall planning takes place based on the workforce requirements, their timely availability, skills upgradation. Then we look at the cost of that. We have different level of workforce in the organization, experienced people, mid-level experienced people, freshers. So how do we go about ensuring that the right set of overall compensation structure and support from management is available? And then these are all being monitored at a defined periodicity to ensure that we are all falling under the same organization basic performance requirement. Everybody's KPI achievement is on track, and where corrective actions are required. So timely input for corrective action without waiting for 12 months to complete, right? And we provide those inputs to them to fine tune the progress, to fine tune their overall performance path, which is supported again by CMMI. So those are the various aspects which we are considering from overall planning and managing point of view. The next is about the overall work, whatever we do. So we should ensure that our practices are implemented. So overall infrastructure requirement, required tools, people, practice part of it. And senior management monitors that as a part of governance. And they look at what is my investment ROI, how my best practices can help me more in the success of the business. And we focus on reducing the overall cost. That's where all other aspects of the various core practice areas we are talking, that is governed by the management. And they look at that over a period of time, how we are able to have the improvement in my objectives, including EBITDA and the margin part. That is where the governance plays very important role, because they have the overall view of the finance, purchase, operations, everyone, and they get the data for the organization level objectives and performance. Any risk, people not joining on time, attrition, higher attrition, ensuring some challenges in the organization, and we need to look at certain workforce is not moving. So how do we take proactive action so that it has minimum impact on the organization need and the business unit specific need? So that's about the overall risk management for workforce related activities. Then we also have the certain processes, SOPs in place in each organization, wherein some organizations call it as a HR policies, HR manual, business management system, or they call it quality management system. So having all this in place from lessons learned from the past, risk experience from the past, what were the business challenges and how we proactively plan our activities for workforce betterment in future. That's where you have certain practices on the organization, process asset, process improvement in place. And everybody is responsible for process improvement. So how do we take inputs from them? And these all activities, we collect the data. In God, we trust, all others bring data, right? This is a very important aspect of CMMI, wherein we look at the collecting the measurement and matrix data related to workforce vis-a-vis what is the cost invested, what is my productivity efficiency, what is my customer related requirements and business growth year on year. And the management analyzes that using the output from the statistical technique. And they look at whether my ROI, my investment here, cost investment, business strategy related requirements, and my current practices are going in line, and they are supporting the overall organizational performance. So where this helps them to take decision on capability building, this helps them to take certain improvisation in the organization policy. This helps them to look at what trainings are required, what are the upskilling required, looking into the business goals and business strategy. So that is where the performance management part helps a lot. So managing performance and measurement, which is like a foundational requirement practice area for CMMI, wherein we focus on the collecting measurement data and analyzing that for data-driven informed decision. It also talks about repeat good performance, right? So that's where we look at what went right. So we do root cause analysis. What went wrong, we do root cause analysis and we implement those actions. And while we do this, you may come across that you have certain availability of people, and there are whom to select for what purpose. Attrition related root cause analysis is done, and you have certain actions identified, how to prioritize those actions. So you have decision analysis and resolution, which supports identifying tools for HR activity and workforce related activity for training, or maybe the overall certain aspects of the very minimal aspect of the individual's aptitude test, for example, or to look at the how do you go about resume screening, etc. And these all are very confidential. We have the laws of the land, GDPR, data privacy rules. So these are all addressed at a very basic and important level through configuration management, so that the employee specific confidential information are taken care, addressed properly as per the overall requirement from the government laws and regulations, as well as the industry specific, sector specific requirements also. So these are the various practices which supports the workforce empowerment to get implemented in the best way possible. Now we come to the benefit, that what are the benefits of implementing CMMI for people. We have performance and improvement and capacity management, so capacity and availability management planning. Over a period of time, individuals' performance improvement contributes to the organization performance objectives and improvement. Then we look at the collaboration between the workforce, teamwork and the higher team bonding between the workforce. So that also is one of the very important aspect when the workforce and the soft skill related activities are to be considered. Inclusion and diversity, right? So this is one of the very important global parameter currently, where we have to ensure the overall individual's involvement and gender equality, also the individual's expectations and their respect and in their own norms and how they want to carry themselves. Talent retention. So how the best talent in line with organization requirement has been retained. They are also growing with the organization. We have a very unbiased, as much as possible, unbiased policies which supports each individual's growth, and that motivates them to come to office every day morning, right? And that stops them from thinking any other point, wherein the overall environment and organization ecosystem supports them to for their personal growth and in turn contributing to the organization goals and achievement. People practice improvements over a period of time. We improve, optimizing our processes, timely execution of activities, right? Supporting HR by all the other or the people department from all other part of the organization. Leadership commitment. So everything is from the top to the bottom. We learn from them. We consider them our role model and we implement the best practices. Then change management, amicable change management. So change is constant, is the only constant. I repeat that. And we look for what more opportunities we get, what more we can contribute to the organization while ensuring the talent retention part, ensuring work-life balance. Dr. Sankaran spoke about certain part. 32% people about quietly quitting and career growth part, right? So how the change management is addressing these requirements also. And benchmarking and continuous improvement. So we look at the overall best practices available in the industry. These are all put together in CMMI for people for workforce. And there are other enablers and other practice areas which supports to drive that for continuous improvement. So that is where we experience the benefits. And a lot of the best practices are involved in CMMI for people, where we focus on the overall implementation of best practices in line with the business growth. So Dr. Sankaran, would you like to add any point on the benefits part?
I think, thank you, Anand. You covered all the points very, very meticulously. And friends, when we look at the entire model, you would have seen a lot of technical coverage. There are almost 17 core practice areas Anand talked about. And then one important practice area, which is workforce empowerment. So in the entire CMI for people model, we see total 18 practice areas. And I'll tell you a very interesting part here. While I also saw some of the questions that's coming up, what kind of strategy can be put in place to attract and develop talented workforce to organization? Imagine what kind of reasons why people want to join the company, right? So is it a challenging work? Is work itself going to be extremely enriching for individual, which will keep them updated all the time? So we are truly living in a very uncertain times, because we need to be relevant in the current scenario. At the same time, we need to acquire skills for next 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line. So many organizations are trying to put together a very well personalized, curated learning and development programs, which are must. For every organization, that's a must. Because if you don't upskill our own global talented workforce, the organization will eventually find it very difficult to combat the dynamic, rapid changes taking place. That's why we are saying adaptability and change at the organization level comes along with preparing the individuals, preparing the workforce. So let's be very clear, how do we invest in learning and development? Interestingly, when we look at this model, while I said 18 practice areas, there are 18 value statements. Every practice area talks about value. What is the benefit? So what for the individual? Remember, friends, when we are embarking on these types of people first initiative, we need to have one question called what's in it for me and what's in it for every individual in the company. And I'm not discriminating by layers of management. Every levels are important. Leadership, middle management, experts group, practitioners, younger generation groups. And can we ever look at the challenges what leadership team going to have on hand? There are multi-generational workforce. Can we have multi-generation based policies? Not practical or not possible. We need to have one common policy catering to the expectations of all generations in the organization. And all generations have to come together and strive towards success of the organization. And that's why some of the companies brings in very creative reward recognition program. For instance, employee stock options has been in the past. In the current, let my employees be my value proposition assets. Let them be part and parcel of the entire success. I will share the success back to them. Can we all take that? That includes everything, leadership style. What kind of adaptive, agile leadership style we need to accommodate. That's why Anand talked about governance practice area. And as a company, we are responsible for 3 P's: people, planet, then comes profit. Again, I'm not saying purely from CMMI perspective. It is there in the entire community that first comes people, then planet. That's what we are talking about: environment, social, and governance. And then comes profit. Profit is also important, but at the same time, not at the cost of people, not at the cost of planet. What do we contribute back to the landfill? So look at all aspects that are getting covered. Why would an individual join the company? We saw top 5 reasons why people would join. While today, compensation, but let's also keep in mind, compensation alone will not be a differentiator. Compensation alone will not attract talent or retain talent. In addition to compensation is almost like a hygiene. Presence will not motivate, but absence will demotivate. Right? Therefore, when we look at it, what kind of challenging work I'm going to be given? If I join this institution, will I be relevant 3 years down the line? Will that be work-life balance? That is also important. There is a personal life. How do I maintain the balance? How do we look at the policies with a democratized approach within the company? How does the culture of the company looks like? Culture is often not defined, not documented, but that's a collective behavior of entire organization. All of these are spoken in the form of what value we should get in CMI for people, friends. So these 18 practice areas with 18 value statements collectively is working to constantly adding value back to the organization. Okay, now we will take a pause here almost at 5 p.m. in India time. We'll turn it to Lindsay or Chris. Now we can probably engage in a question answer session or discussions. Over to you, Chris.
That sounds great. And thank you, Dr. Sankaran. Thank you, Mr. Anandkumar. That was absolutely a great delivery of this very important content and exciting stuff that is extremely relevant to each and every one of us here on this call here today. As we've been speaking about, please use the Q&A and the question chat in order to ask questions. I have had a couple of them come through already. I have seen some raised hands. Lindsay, if I can ask for your assistance to open up the mics for our participants, as I have seen probably about 4 or 5 raised hands and a few questions that have come in as well. The first question, I will give my take on it. This was sent to me in the chat. So I received the question. Folks, how can I identify the amount of improvement that will be relevant to my organization? And so I think that there's a lot of different ways to evaluate how much your organization can benefit. And what I will direct this great question to is to go take a look at the dozens of examples that we have as case studies on cmmiinstitute.com, or feel free to set up a call, right? Every organization is different, and a huge part of CMMI is winning your goals on your terms, right? So there is a component of identifying what those goals are for your organization so that we can identify, well, how much do you have to gain, right? But I think that what we've seen over the course of today's conversation is that there are many different benefits to be seized in a lot of different ways, and that just about every organization can stand to gain from getting more process oriented and utilizing the types of roadmaps that CMMI and the model and framework can provide for you. Dr. Sankaran and Mr. Anandkumar, is there anything additional that you would add to that question that you would like to provide?
No, I think you covered it extremely well, Chris, because the key pain points and the business pain areas varies from organizations to organization. And what stage of business they are in, what kind of products and solutions they are providing to their market, what kind of customers they are dealing with, and what kind of geography they operate. There are so many factors that play a role for what kind of improvement I should really focus on in my company in order to achieve and maximize the benefits. So I think, Chris, you very well covered. But at the same length, I'm just connecting the dots by looking at the Q&A. One of the interesting questions that came up is, from a people perspective, what is the best possible scenario in terms of approaching capability level or maturity level? And should we select few areas and then try to improve, or improve from overall areas? Fantastic question. And when you're trying to adapt this model, I like this question primarily because there are two things. One, Anand talked about capability level approach, maturity level. Maturity level comes with the predefined set of practice areas. Because there is a reason for that. We are holistically improving as an enterprise, and we are taking a maturity level path. And capability level is the next path, which says, now I am an organization, I am in a business stage where I can't take the entire holistic view, but I know and I have clarity in what areas we as a company are not doing well. Can I focus on that? Does the CMMI model has a flexibility so that I can focus on few areas first, start somewhere, and then eventually go for it? Absolutely, yes. That is why the capability level approach has been defined, where I can select few areas where I could see two things. One, I can elevate my company to a next level, or I can fix some of the business issues. Can I focus on them, prioritize on them, go for adoption, and then bring in the best practices into my system, get it appraised by the certified lead appraiser, and take a look at what are the areas for improvement, what are the strengths, and what are the gaps, how do we fix them? That's the best way to first taste the success in small pieces and then eventually put the entire holistic view. So taking a capability level approach for that question, and then eventually organization can look at a holistic approach, is perhaps the most practical way that we can adopt. So just thought I will quickly address that question as well. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Dr. Sankaran. A terrific answer, right? Thank you for that. Because we are starting to run a little bit low on time, please let me hit some more of these Q&As. Very nice questions in the chat, folks. A couple questions that are oriented around young professionals, right? How do we connect with, how do we attract, how do we retain these young professionals in an environment of the development of AI? This is a tough set of questions, but the more prepared that an organization is, the more process-driven that an organization is, the more successful that we can all be in, not just the young professionals, although they're, of course, they're their own category, right? But being able to speak to all generations, all workforce categories, to be able to connect more tightly with your organization, right? And so my response to that is being very process driven, right? Identifying what it is that's important to them, utilizing the data, and then making sure that your teams and your managers are equipped with the tools that they need in order to deliver meaningful content to these folks. Dr. Sankaran, Mr. Anandkumar, anything that you would add to that, please?
Sure, Chris. I think you started off by saying process-based approach is a solution. Absolutely, yes. I'll just quickly give an example to what Chris actually said. For example, one of the situation also says, if there is a communication gap, how do you think it can be bridged? I think one of the questions that is also there, to ensure talented individuals aren't overlooked. Oh, true. Now, what CMMI model says, just alluding to what Chris said in process, when we talk about communication and coordination, is one of a powerful practice in workforce empowerment practice here in CMMI. What it essentially says, think of a triangle, top-down approach, top-down communication, then bottom-up communication, then across, three parts of the triangle. Top down, leadership constantly connecting with people down the line. Bottom up, even practitioners able to connect the dots and align to the leadership. And the across, collaboration, coordination, interpersonal communication with our own colleagues. I think this fundamental premise of bringing in a transparency in the company is extremely critical. Extremely critical. In fact, today, in terms of AI, one of the big challenge we are facing with AI is having a black box inside. I want that black box to be converted to white box or glass box. I don't know how AI takes certain decisions. Imagine with human also, same thing applies. So as Chris said, process structure-based approach to minimize communication gap to start with and eventually eliminate communication gap. And that can be possible only if it is system-driven, not people-driven. We will take great practice from people, but it has to come back to the system. System will drive behaviors to minimize such gaps. That would be my take. Back to you. Anand, you want to add anything to this, Anand?
No, Sankaran, thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, Chris.
Very well said, gentlemen. So I believe we have time for 2 more questions, which we'll hit quickly here as we are over time. And thanks everybody for staying with us. It's clear there's a lot of excitement around this topic, as we are as well. Just as a quick hitter, one of those questions is, so what do we do to attract that top talent, right? That's another category that we need to always be thinking about that is essential for a thriving and effective workforce. And there are many different tactics in which to attract and retain those folks, right? But it starts with the process, and then we'll take a look at industry. We'll take a look at how those folks are really brought in, right? These are implementation of a framework and a model like this is an ongoing process in which you will identify what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses of the organizations you have today, and what are the most impactful changes that you can implement in order to address those weaknesses. Dr. Sankaran, anything that you would add to that, please?
Absolutely, because in addition to that, I think in the current context, we have to constantly excite our workforce. Constant excitement, because system is there, as Chris rightly said, process is there, constant excitement. What is the excitement? Is my company also picking up what's important in the current and future trends, right? And how quickly as a company and culture we are adapting to new things and creating opportunity for our staff. We may have to come back and communicate, because all of this, some companies does it, but they don't know how to pack it and take it forward to the market. And therefore, the talented people in the market aren't aware what this company is doing. So I think the all-round strategy, remember the earlier one that I talked about in the slide, is the engagement is the biggest challenge. Almost 21% of global workforce is not engaged. And more than 30-40% of people are getting disengaged, 15% actively disengaged. These are the signs to say somewhere along the line, the excitement is getting lost. And this is where the leadership team responsibility multiplies to say, what should I do? What kind of strategy I need to put in place to attract, and why would a person, global talented people from the market would join my company? What do I have in my company? Is a product and solution compelling enough? Am I solving a bigger problem for my customers? As a company, am I having a growth and career path very clearly laid out so that every individual is given that runway where they can take off with their own contributions? Is embarking on initiatives such as environment, social governance, DEI? How serious are the companies looking at all of these? These are profound questions that must be answered to attract a talent. Once the talent comes in, imagine a bigger challenge. We have to retain the talent. On a lighter note, there was one conversation between a CEO and CFO. And Chris, I want to take a moment to talk about this conversation where a CFO, Chief Finance Officer, asked this question to CEO that we are training people on all advanced technologies. But you know what, dear CEO? They all get the knowledge and learning and they leave the company and go somewhere else. So are we becoming an education and institution for our competitors? And you know what's the response from the CEO? CEO said, yes, I understand where you're coming from, dear CFO. But what happens if we don't train all these staffs and they all stay back in the company? even more worse consequences. I think there has to be a constant upskilling, reskilling. Remember, Z-shaped skill, learn, unlearn, relearn should be an adaptable way that we have to do collectively, so that the employees feel that when I'm staying in the company, I'm married to a culture of the company. I'm constantly learning. I am able to contribute, and we are able to collectively and inclusively grow. If these are the reasons, sometimes people may even think that let me not put money on the top and leave a wonderful culture. That's where the answer lies. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Dr. Sankaran. So folks, we have time for one last question. And let me say, if your question has not been answered, please rest assured, everyone here who has attended today will be getting an email from myself and my colleague, Lindsay, to follow up on this conversation. We would love to continue discussing this with you, bringing global experts to the table in order to help you advance your maturity on CMMI for People. And so the last question that we have time to field today is, what is the right maturity level for my organization? Right? A fantastic question. It is very difficult to answer in a quick hit way, but let me give you this response, please, is that for some organizations, right, a level 3 maturity is quite sufficient, right? For other organizations, they'll need to be looking to something like a level 4 or potentially even a level 5, depending on what it is that that organization does, how important people management is to that organization, and really every decision is constrained by resources, right? We want to make sure that your resources are best applied to the things that are making the biggest impact. And that conversation is one that can't necessarily be handled in a webinar format as we have here today. This is why we are happy to reach out to yourselves and everybody else within these organizations in order to assist you in figuring out what's the right maturity level for me, what's the right impact for the expenditure of resources that is reasonable for me to achieve, and we'll come to the table with plenty of different case studies for you to look at in which other organizations like yourself have been effective in implementing these policies. Dr. Sankaran and Mr. Anandkumar, anything that you would add to that, please?
Oh, Chris, I think you've ably covered all the key points. You have answered all of them. Absolutely, yes. And I think just one point to add, maybe familiarize with CMI for People and that model, and maybe do a snapshot assessment and take a look at it. If required, please involve experts like lead appraiser to do an initial assessment to see where do we stand as an organization. And let's be very clear about our aspirations of our business and how do we leverage this wonderful model to achieve our organization aspirations, in addition to what Chris said. Chris, I think you very well covered it. Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Anandkumar, to you as well. Gentlemen, looking to you for any final comments before we wrap up here today.
Yeah, so as both of you rightly concluded in last 2 or 3 answers. So we first look at the current workforce practices, what we have, and then we should do the assessment where we want to be and what are the best practices from CMMI. And we can look at not the entire workforce empowerment set of practice area, but some of them like organization capability building as well as mentoring, empowerment part, and competency building. So even these couple of them can be considered to start with for the best practice implementation, which will further definitely ensure that we implement the complete set of the best practices. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. And Dr. Sankaran, any closing words from you, my friend, before I say a little something and we will be on to our day?
Sure, Chris. Keep it very, very short. In addition to faster, better, cheaper, let's add happier. And let this domain be leveraged extensively in these times. And let this framework and this model also add significant value. And we are eager to help the community at large with CMI for People. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you to all of you who have been a part of this. You are an essential part of the CMMI community, and we appreciate your time and attention here today. Please expect to receive an email from us learning more about what interested you, as well as what else we can do to assist and support your objectives. It's really been a pleasure. So we look forward to further conversations and further series in this webinar. Today was about CMMI for people, and next month we'll be seeing CMMI for security. So stay tuned for a lot more exciting content of this type. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day all around the world. Take care.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you all.